Oh, Tara, are you still on, Duck? Okay, where are you? I'm coming on ramp. I want you to backhand me. Okay, go for it. Whee! That's so good. Hello. So, the Duck TLC. How has everybody been enjoying it? I have been loving it. Needless to say, this is one of the best TLCs that they've actually done in terms of a kit, because they didn't really do anything for a model rework or a TLC for that, but I think that the animation changes that they made to Duck in the first place was enough to actually give it more personality. And needless to say, they have actually made me want to play in Apex and have fun with it, because, well, you know me, I usually really enjoy my smaller playables that are just a lot more casual across the board. But when looking at Duck's ability TLC, you gotta notice one thing, and I didn't actually see this at first. It was actually pointed out to me by another person. Well, Alcazar. I'll pop their channel in the description. Go check them out. They do pretty funny videos. I enjoy them. But yeah, they ended up pointing out to me about all of the TLCs, that they've all been Apex, and that all of these TLCs have been focusing on giving every single one of the Apexes their very own niche and their own roles. So, for instance, say Rex, it's all about bone break. You know, you deal bone break, lock an opponent down, and you get big damage from it. For EO, you are mainly focusing on building up your defense from blocking. As for then Tyranno Titan, that's kind of all about just bleeding out your opponent for a endurance kind of fight, if you get the chance to do so. And then for this TLC, we end up getting onto Duck, which is all about knockback as its niche mechanic that they kind of want to try and focus on a lot of the time. Of course it does bleed, but that's besides the point. Its uniqueness comes from the knockback. Soon into the future, when they actually get round to it, Bars is going to be all about focusing around AoE damage, and then as for Spino, well, who knows. But yeah, I have been loving the TLC. That's all I can really say for Duck, because they've actually given it some different ways to specialize now, instead of just playing one type of Duck, which that is the goal of any TLC really, is to give it options. And as for Duck's options, well, you kinda have 2 or 3 to mainly specialize in. That is either dry duck or wet duck. Did you notice how I didn't say land duck or water duck? Well, that is because it doesn't try to focus on being in water, but more just being either covered in water or not covered in water, as that's where you unlock the true potential of whatever build you are trying to run. Warning! I got so annoyed every single time that I tried to use a dry duck build, as every time that I tried to actually fight, it would start raining. It was the most infuriating thing ever, and it ruined every single fight that I was about to get into, and just forced me to run away. As if you are running a dry duck build, everything that you have built up to that point to try and take advantage of being dry is now all turned off as soon as it starts raining, and this happened every single time that I tried to actually get into a fight. It's like the game would wait for me to try to get into a fight for it to start raining. It drove me wild. It drove me up the wall. But hey, that's Panther Titans. I blame Matt. But anyway, I have some funny scenarios, or clips, or whatever you want to call them, while, you know, playing the Duck TLC, and I was having a lot of fun with it. And, well, what can I say? I want to show you. So, with all that out of the way, I hope you all enjoy. So, I'm playing with some friends on day 1 of the Duck TLC, and some ended up getting bored of playing Duck and decided to switch to some other things, like, say, Megalania, some on Tyrannotitan, but most of us are still playing on Duck. Either way, I end up moving up to Wilderness Peak because I'm very low on water and I would rather not just go to Crater, where I end up coming across two Rexes, both drinking the water that I am oh so desperate for. And since we're all drinking at the same time, I wasn't able to get the amount of water that I oh so wanted. And so I decided to, maybe be a little bit aggressive. And it was kind of funny. They really did not want to fight. Look at them nodding right there. Like, please, no. We don't want to fight. And, I can't blame them. It's a semi-aquatic. And since semi-aquatics can pretty much always have the advantage around water, since they can just do hit and runs and be safe at the water, yeah, I can understand it. But the first order of business right here is to pretty much just make them wet. And thankfully I have an ability called Water Spout, which ends up using 15% of my water in order to make everyone around me and myself wet. Though I didn't really need it for myself. Making them wet will make me deal more damage with my Riptide ability, and with me being wet, I'll also end up having a lower cooldown on said ability itself. Now, Riptide is pretty much a heavy-hitting ability that has quite the long cooldown, and deals quite a decent amount of bleed. And thankfully, due to me being a semi-aquatic in the first place and being next to a pond, I can kind of just take my time in doing little hit and runs, and then running back to water using my tail smack. They ended up bone breaking me earlier, which is kind of lucky for me right now, since it kind of makes me immune to fracture at this point. It leaves me a nice little opening to go around and try and tail smack them into the water, making them easier to get another Riptide on, adding more and more bleed onto them. Now, when using Riptide, try and think of it almost like playing Spino and using its claw attack. Because the animation of Riptide is almost like a hug, you want to try and maybe angle yourself off to the side, which kind of gives you a little bit of more room to also then hit them away with a tail attack afterwards. Otherwise, if you end up trying to just run at them head on whenever you try to use your Riptide, there is a chance that it could miss, but also you could just get stuck on the hitbox, leaving you to take more and more damage. But as you see, one of them has taken quite a significant amount of damage, and when I ended up looking at the replay, it's around, maybe they're around like 40, maybe 50% health. No, I'm in Wilderness fighting two Rexes. Yeah, they just popped Terrifying Roar and Rampage. So my friends ended up asking, hey Hanya, what are you doing? And I said, oh yeah, I'm fighting two Rexes up in Wilderness Peak, and I'm kind of just trying to do what I can before they actually get here. See how much I actually do to these two. Now, as I said before, the one at the back is around like 40%, but this one in front right here is practically squeaky clean, especially now that they're wet from Water Spout. And so, it's time for me to actually start trying to work them down with my little hit and runs with Riptide. Which makes it a lot easier since they're staying next to the water to try and protect their friend. Honestly, their best course of action right now would have actually been just to run away from the water. One of them is bleeding heavily and is just trying to back away from the pond as much as possible. The reason why it would have been best for them to just back away from the water is because if I wanted to keep attacking them, I would have to keep actually getting out of my comfort zone. Right now, I'm in my comfort zone since I can get a big hit, run back to water, get a big hit, run back to water, and they are kind of just making it easy for me, should I say. And I don't even mean that in a derogatory kind of way, like easy. I mean, it's the case that if they are in an area where it's easy for me to kind of just get in and get out, then yeah. I end up not feeling like I'm in as much danger, since I don't have to use very much stamina, and I am not far away from the area, or I have nothing as an obstacle between me and my safe zone, which is pretty much the pond. But right here, this Rex ends up picking a little bit more of a maybe tricky spot, and I tried to bait out a bone break. I end up failing that bait and I get hit with it, so I end up just running past them, towards the water. And since they had to turn around to actually get me, it gave me a bit of space. But I gotta say, this Rex was obsessed with trying to just land fractures. If they end up just hitting me with normal attacks, they would have gotten a lot more done right here.
Working on it. I'm at about 20%.
And so here is where my friends ended up coming in. Since I ended up saying, oh yeah, I'm fighting 2 Rexes in Crater, I tried to get what I, could done as fast as I can. I wasn't able to actually get it done though. Either way, Terra ends up coming in on Tyrannotitan, popping blood-chilling roar, reducing their bleed healing, and I decide to try and rush down the other Rex that was in the back because, well, they'd made a bunch of distance anyway. I say a bunch of distance, not really a bunch of distance. So I'm kind of just trying to deal with it as fast as I can, just to try and get at least one of them on my own before everyone else comes in and steals my glory. How dare they? But either way, I was too slow, and Goose ends up coming in and just starts backhanding the Rex. Along with then Terra in the back, kind of a little bit of extra presence, but as I said, they stole my glory.
Right, I need water. I ended up using water spout twice in that, I think. The hitbox, if you just try and go to the side, is it's such a comfortable hit. I kind of like Riptide. It feels it's kind of like a heavy bite, but with then a bunch of bleed. I wonder how much I actually did to those Rexes, just alone there.
Well, here's the health of both the Rexes before any of my friends had hit them. That's good enough for me. Now here, this one is kind of short, and I'm using Backhand and Riptide. Backhand deals a lot of knockback, and then Riptide is just damage. You already saw it in the last clip. But then for my vocal ability, I'm also using Goose Honk, which boosts up my knockback. And while walking across Grand Plains, I'm spotted by a Tyrannotitan, which thought they could go for a succulent Chinese meal, which duck happens to usually be. And so I lure them towards the northern caves of Grand Plains, waiting for them to come up onto the hill before popping Goose Honk. And then this ensues.
I got a Titan come after me. I'm going to see if I can do anything with Goose Honk now. Top of the caves. And it's dead. He followed. Come on, they had to have seen it coming. Oh yeah. Ellie, I literally just walked up here, waited for them. They kind of just like, just blindly followed me up. I activated Goose Honk. They started walking down, trying to turn around. I went like this, and then boop. They were literally standing like here, and they went that far.
Yeah, I pray they never nerf that, because you give up so much by running backhand with Goose Honk in terms of damage. It's so goddamn fun, even though anyone who is smart enough to not follow a duck up onto a hill, well, they counter its entire strategy right there. So my friends end up showing up, Terra being on a duck, and Elite being on a Bars Boulder, and we decide, yeah, we've got nothing to lose. We haven't really got any marks really to lose, so we decide just to go down into Crater and just see what happens.
Oh, wait a minute. You go to the left, Terra. We need to, yeah, 2 bodyguard ducks and a bars. Here we go. You got the backhand as well, yeah?
Yeah, right now we kind of have the setup of Protect the President, being the Bars Boulder. And as we waddle our way down into Crater, we spot that, well, there's just like so much down here. There's like 4 Spinos around the water, 2 Annos, a Tyrannotitan, a couple of Megs, some Raptors, and then a bunch of baby dinos, which, well, we ain't gonna care about. We end up going over to the bush, where we're immediately pushed away by the Annos right now. And then we also end up spotting the Tyrannotitan trying to circle their way around the pond. So, with the bait set, I tell my friends to head to the hills.
They're following. Yeah, you go up first. Like, this is protect the VIP here. Yeah, I saw that coming. Have you got tail smack, Terra? Yeah, don't try and fight. Just tail smack and run up, Terra. Tail smack and run up.
Now, while Terra is kind of keeping their attention right now, I end up popping Goose honk. You know, just ready to try and smack them right back down the hill. Starting with the Anno, that surprisingly didn't actually take that much fall damage, despite how far they fell. But the Tyrannotitan ended up losing around 60% of their health from this, which was then followed up by the Spinos showing up, maybe thinking that if they try to taunt us back down onto the ramp, maybe we'd actually take the bait, but they knew that so long as we were running backhand and goose honk, that there was nothing they could do to actually get us off of this hill right here. At least not without some other people trying to go around the other side. In which, guess what? Terra ended up spotting the Tyrannotitan, which ended up trying to go up the other ramp, and was very, very quickly dissuaded, at the risk of taking a backhand and a quick drop with a sudden stop. And guess what? This was enough to make them say, yeah, maybe it's not worth going after a bunch of ducks in a bars with a bunch of knockback. And so they headed back towards the pond.
Mate, no, here's the problem though. I was looking straight. I was looking straight ahead. And it still did a sideways swipe. Oh yeah, but if they start coming up and we see them come over the hill or anything like that, what we do, we run straight to these mountains over here. To the left.
And I'm actually surprised they didn't chase across Grand Plains or switch or anything. I mean, I can appreciate it. It's not always about the kills. So another case of going towards wilderness instead of crater for water. And apparently, there happens to be a Spino and a Tyrannotitan lurking in the area, waiting for their next meal. I ended up sprinting towards the pond, which could have been one of the biggest mistakes that I could have made in this moment. And when I ended up looking at the pond as I was about to drink, I ended up seeing a strange looking shape. And, well, yeah, it's the Spino that was there. I tried to do a little bit of damage, but to no real avail. It's just doing way more just by hitting me more often. But I also ended up hearing that Tyrannotitan, which ended up popping its armor core.
A Titan and a Spino over in...
As you can clearly see, I'm still using my backhand, Riptide, and Goose honk setup, so I pop Goose honk, run towards the hill, take a couple of hits from the Tyrannotitan, and knock it down the hill because insane knockback, and it decides just to run straight back at me. And I was quite riled up here.
Yeah, fuck you! Fuck you, Titan! Genius!
It's moments like these that is gonna get backhand nerfed, because people are just gonna run at it in a silly manner and then just complain about it, calling it overpowered. I really hope they don't nerf it, god damn it. And so here we are at the end. So, as I stated at the beginning of the video, this is the one TLC that has actually made me interested in actually playing an Apex. It doesn't have to be super overpowered or whatever like that. It's really unique. I love that they're actually giving all of the Apexes different, how do I say, niches. You know, instead of, oh yeah, they're all big, they all do a lot of damage, they all got their own role. Some of them, you know, one of them does Apex, one is a blocker, one does knockback, one is going to do AoE, one is a bleeder. You get what I'm saying? I love that, you know, role kind of aspect that Aldron are actually trying to push. I am super curious what they're going to do for Spino. What do you think? Now, the only thing for them to really work on is just map traffic. If they can just pull a TLC on map traffic, that's what we really need right now, and a TLC on the quest rework. Let's just call everything a TLC, no matter what it is, you know? Let's just call it all, you know, the foliage, TLC it. Yeah. It's a little bit exciting. They actually got me interested in actually playing an Apex. I really like Duck as it is right now. I'm just praying they don't nerf it. That's all I'm praying for. If they nerf the whole you know, backhand thing, that's probably when you'll see me play a lot less Duck. I'll be honest, I really love how goofy that is. Hey, I managed to fit Goofy into a video. But yeah, as I said before, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. But I've rambled on for long enough. With all that out of the way, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a lovely day. P.S. I got a second screenshot for you after this one. Bye!